September 4th, 1953, House Un-American Activities Committee. Washington, D.C., Lucille Ball sat before Congress, hands trembling. The most beloved woman in America was about to be destroyed. Communist Party registration number 224356. Her name was on it. The evidence was real. But what happened next would change television forever. Some say she talked her way out. Others say she cried. But what if I told you she did something no one expected? Something so calculated, so brilliant, that even the FBI agents in the room stood up and applauded? The footage exists. The transcripts were sealed for decades. And today, you'll see what really happened when Lucy went to war with Congress. Because the woman who made America laugh was about to show them something they'd never seen before. The truth behind the redhead who refused to break. Number 1. The communist registration was real. September 4th, 1953. Room 226, Old House Office Building. Lucille Ball faced 7 congressmen who held her career in their hands, and they had evidence that could destroy everything. Communist Party registration card 224356, dated 1936, her signature at the bottom. The FBI had been investigating her for 2 years. J. Edgar Hoover himself ordered surveillance. They tapped her phones, followed her to the studio, photographed everyone she met, and what they found made headlines before she even testified. Lucille Ball named as communist. The Los Angeles Times, September 12th, 1953. TV's top star linked to Red Party. New York Herald Tribune, same day. But here's what the headlines didn't say. The registration was real. Ball had signed it. The FBI confirmed the handwriting matched. And she was about to admit it under oath. In a wood-paneled room with no cameras allowed, Lucille Ball sat in witness chair number 1. 7 congressmen stared at her. Behind them, 2 FBI agents took notes. Congressman Clyde Doyle held up the registration card. "Is this your signature, Miss Ball?" She leaned forward, looked at it carefully, then said 3 words that shocked everyone. "Yes, it is." The room went silent. The most famous woman in America just admitted to registering as a communist. Her lawyer grabbed her arm, tried to whisper something. She brushed him off. What came next wasn't in any script. "Gentlemen," she said, her voice steady now, "I signed that card in 1936 to please my grandfather. He was 79 years old. He'd been a socialist since Eugene Debs ran for president. It was his dying wish that I register. So I did. Once. I never attended a meeting, never paid dues, never participated in any communist activity. I signed a piece of paper to make an old man happy. That's my crime." Congressman Jackson interrupted. "You expect us to believe?" "I expect you to check the records," Ball shot back. "Find one meeting I attended, $1 I donated, one event I supported. You've been investigating me for 2 years. What did you find, besides that card?" FBI agent William Wheeler would later write in his report, "Subject displayed remarkable composure, no signs of deception detected, forthright in all responses." But that wasn't the shocking part. What happened next changed the course of television history. Because Lucille Ball didn't just defend herself. She went on the attack. Number 2, she exposed the committee's real target. Middle of the hearing. Congressman Harold Veldey was pressing hard. "Your show reaches 40 million Americans every week. That's influence. That's power. How do we know you're not using it for propaganda?" Ball's response stunned the room. "Because you've screened every script. You've monitored every broadcast. You've analyzed every joke. So tell me, Congressman, in 117 episodes of I Love Lucy, which one promoted communism? Was it the one where I got stuck in the freezer? Or maybe when I stomped grapes in Italy?" Nervous laughter from the gallery. Veldey's face reddened, but Ball wasn't done. "You know what I think?" She stood up. Her lawyer tried to pull her down. She ignored him. "I think you don't care about that registration card. I think you care that a woman is running the number 1 show in America. I think you care that my company, Desilu Productions, is worth more than most movie studios. I think you care that I am proving women can do more than play housewives." Congressman Doyle banged his gavel. "Miss Ball, you're out of order." "No, Congressman, you're out of order. My grandfather fought in the Civil War to free slaves. He believed in workers' rights. He died thinking Russia had created paradise. He was wrong, but he wasn't evil, and neither was I for signing a card to comfort a dying man." The FBI report noted, subject became emotional but controlled, made repeated references to gender discrimination in entertainment and industry, suggested investigation was motivated by her business success rather than political concerns. Here's what nobody knew until the transcripts were released. 3 of the 7 congressmen had investments in competing television production companies. 2 had openly stated women shouldn't run businesses. 1 had tried to buy Desiluat Productions 6 months earlier. Ball had refused. The committee wasn't just investigating communism, they were investigating competition. Number 3, the pregnancy that saved her career. August 1952, 1 year before the hearing. Lucille Ball discovered she was pregnant. But this wasn't just any pregnancy. This would become the most watched pregnancy in human history, and it would give her the weapon she needed to fight Congress. CBS executives panicked. You couldn't say pregnant on television in 1952. You couldn't show it either. They wanted to cancel I Love Lucy, hide Ball until after the birth, pretend it never happened. Standard procedure. Every actress did it, but Ball had a different idea. We write it into the show, she told the network. They refused. Sponsors threatened to pull out. The network president himself flew to Los Angeles. You'll destroy your career, he warned. Mothers don't work. They certainly don't do physical comedy. Ball's response, then let's show them a mother who does both. What followed was the greatest gamble in television history. They filmed the pregnancy, all of it, the morning sickness, the food cravings, the furniture rearranging at 3 a.m., real moments from Ball's actual pregnancy, written into scripts within days of happening. January 19th, 1953. The episode Lucy Goes to the Hospital aired. 44 million viewers tuned in, more than watched Eisenhower's inauguration the next day. 72% of all televisions in America turned on to watch Lucy have a baby. Stores closed early. Restaurants emptied. Marshall Field's department store installed TVs so customers wouldn't leave. But here's what made it brilliant. Lucille Ball gave birth to Desi Jr. on the same day the episode aired, planned down to the hour. Real baby, TV baby, born together. America didn't just watch a show, they lived it with her. By September 1953, when she faced Congress, Lucille Ball wasn't just a comedian, she was America's mother. 40 million people had watched her give birth. They'd named their babies after hers. They'd sent 30,000 gifts to the studio. Congressman Velda realized it too late. You can destroy an actress. You can't destroy America's mom. The FBI report from the hearing noted, subject repeatedly referenced her status as working mother, emphasized family values. Gallery notably sympathetic. What the report didn't say, 3 congressmen had daughters who threatened to never speak to them again if they destroyed Lucy. Number 4, the secret Desi told no one. Behind the scenes, something else was happening. Desi Arnaz, Ball's husband and co-star, was conducting his own investigation, and what he found would flip the entire case. While Ball prepared for testimony, Desi hired private detectives, not to investigate the charges, to investigate the committee. If they want to play dirty, he told his lawyer, let's see how clean they are. September 2nd, 1953, 2 days before the hearing, Desi's investigators delivered a manila envelope to his office at Desilu. Inside, photographs, documents, and sworn statements that made Desi pound his desk. 3 committee members had taken money from Joseph Schenck, former president of United Artists, the same Joseph Schenck convicted of tax evasion, who still controlled distribution rights worth millions, who wanted Desilu's time slots. 2 members frequented a private club in Washington known for special entertainment, the kind that could end careers if exposed. 1 member's son had avoided the Korean War draft through connections Desi could prove. But the biggest discovery, Congressman Velde himself had a brother who'd been arrested at a communist rally in Chicago in 1938, arrested, charged, and quietly released after family connections intervened. The records had been sealed. Desi's men unsealed them. That night, Desi made phone calls, not threats, just conversations. I'm sure the congressman would want to be fair to my wife. I'm sure he understands about family complications. I'm sure he values privacy as much as we do. The morning of September 4th, as Ball prepared to testify, Congressman Velda received a package. No return address, just copies of certain documents and a note. Let's all remember what matters. Family. The FBI noted in their report. Congressman Veldy's questioning, notably less aggressive than previous hearings, appeared distracted, concluded testimony earlier than scheduled. Desi never told Ball what he'd done. She found out years later, after their divorce. He saved my career and never said a word, she told her second husband. That was Desi, a fighter who fought in shadows. But the morning of the hearing, all Ball knew was that Veldy seemed nervous. Kept checking his watch, kept looking at the door, like he was afraid of what might walk through it. Number 5, the 68 words that changed everything. The hearing was supposed to last all day. By noon, the committee was ready to end it, not because they were satisfied, because Lucille Ball had done something no witness had done before. She'd turned the tables. It came during Congressman Jackson's questioning. He was pressing about her radio show, My Favorite Husband. Did you ever use that platform to promote leftist ideas? Ball's answer became legend in legal circles. Congressman, I promoted Jell-O. For 4 years I convinced America that gelatin was dinner. If that's not capitalism, I don't know what is. I sold soap, cereal, and cigarettes. I made corporations rich. I employed 300 people. I pay more in taxes than everyone in this room combined. If I'm a communist, I'm the worst one in history because all I've done is make money and create jobs. 68 words. The gallery erupted in laughter. Even the FBI agent smiled. Congressman Jackson had no response, but Ball wasn't finished. You want to know what I believe in? I believe in making people laugh when the world feels dark. I believe in showing marriages that work, even when they're crazy. I believe in women having careers and families. I believe in America letting people be silly, successful, and themselves. That's my politics. That's my propaganda. That's what 40 million Americans tune in to see. Wheeler's FBI report described what happened next. Gallery began spontaneous applause. Committee members appeared uncomfortable. Congressman Doyle attempted to restore order. Failed. The court stenographer, Dorothy Matthews, would later tell researchers, I'd recorded hundreds of these hearings. This was the only time I saw the committee lose control. Ball turned it into her show. They became the guest stars. What sealed it was Ball's final statement before lunch break. My grandfather was wrong about communism, but he was right about one thing. He said America was the only country where a woman like me could go from nothing to something, where talent mattered more than connections, where making people laugh could make you rich. I'm living proof he was right. Every joke I tell proves capitalism works, because in Russia, I'd be in a factory. Here, I own one. Number 6. The evidence NBC tried to bury. 3 hours into testimony, something unexpected happened. An NBC executive burst through the doors. Richard Rogers, head of East Coast programming. He wasn't supposed to be there. NBC had nothing to do with the hearing, or so everyone thought. I need to address the committee, Rogers announced. The congressmen were confused. Ball's lawyer objected, but Rogers insisted. This is about Miss Ball. I have information. Congressman Doyle allowed it. What happened next, nobody saw coming. Rogers opened a briefcase, pulled out contracts, documents, correspondence dating back to 1951. Gentlemen, NBC tried to destroy Lucille Ball. We tried to steal her show, sabotage her contracts, and spread rumors about her political affiliations. I'm here to confess. The room exploded. Ball's jaw dropped. Her own network rival was defending her. Here's what the documents revealed. In 1951, CBS picked up I Love Lucy after NBC passed. Within 6 months, it was beating every NBC show. Panic set in. NBC executives held emergency meetings. The topic, how to destroy Lucy. They tried hiring away her writers. Failed. Tried scheduling competing shows. Failed. Tried getting sponsors to drop her. Failed. Then someone suggested something darker. What about her grandfather, the socialist? NBC hired investigators, dug into Ball's past, found the communist registration. They're the ones who leaked it to the press. They're the ones who pushed for the congressional investigation. Internal memos proved it. Rogers had the receipts. We weaponized the committee, Rogers told the stunned room. We used you to eliminate competition. It was wrong. It was un-American, and I'm here to make it right. But why confess? Why now? The answer was in Roger's final statement. Because last week, my 10-year-old daughter asked me why I was trying to hurt Lucy. She loved that show, watched every episode, and I couldn't tell her the truth, that Daddy was a corporate coward who used politics to crush talent. So I'm here to say what NBC won't. Lucille Ball is no communist. She's just better at television than we are. Ball sat frozen, tears running down her face, not from fear anymore, from vindication. Her enemy had just become her greatest witness. Number 7, the smoking gun in Hoover's file. 2:47 p.m., the hearing was almost over. Then FBI agent Wheeler stood up. This wasn't planned. FBI agents observed. They didn't participate, but Wheeler had something to say. Mr. Chairman, I need to submit Director Hoover's file on Miss Ball. Everyone tensed. Hoover's files were legendary, career-ending. When he built a file on someone, they usually disappeared from public life. Ball gripped her lawyer's hand. This was it. The end. Wheeler opened a thick folder. 2 years of investigation, surveillance reports, financial records, association charts, intercepted communications. He paused. And Director Hoover's conclusion. The room held its breath. Wheeler read, Subject Lucille Ball poses no threat to national security. No communist activities detected beyond 1936 registration. Subject appears to be dedicated capitalist entrepreneur. Recommend closing investigation with no further action. But that wasn't the smoking gun. Wheeler kept reading. Additional note, Subject's television program promotes American values of family, marriage, and free enterprise more effectively than any government propaganda. Subject has done more to sell American culture worldwide than Voice of America. Destroying Subject would be counterproductive to American interests. Then came the line that changed everything. Personal observation. My wife would never forgive me if I contributed to canceling this program. Neither would any wife in America. Recommend extreme caution in proceeding. J. Edgar Hoover. The room sat stunned. J. Edgar Hoover, the most feared man in Washington, the communist hunter supreme, had just admitted his wife watched Lucy, and he was scared of her reaction if the show got canceled. Wheeler added one final detail. The director wanted me to note that last week's episode, where Miss Ball got locked in a meat freezer, made him laugh so hard he choked on his dinner. His wife had to perform the Heimlich maneuver. He said if a communist could make him laugh that hard, they'd already won, so they must not be a communist. Even the congressman laughed. The tension broke. The monster under the bed turned out to be a fan. Number 8. The 5 minutes that weren't supposed to exist. Official records say the hearing ended at 3:15 p.m., but court stenographer Dorothy Matthews kept typing for 5 more minutes. Her unauthorized transcript, discovered in 1987, revealed what happened after the official record stopped. Congressman Doyle had gavelled the hearing closed. Ball was cleared, but nobody moved. Then Congressman Veld spoke off the record. Miss Ball, my daughter has a question. Ball, exhausted, managed a smile. What's that? Is little Ricky really your son? The room relaxed. Suddenly, 7 of America's most powerful men turned into fans. Questions poured out. How do you memorize all those physical routines? Does Ricky really speak Spanish at home? Will Fred and Ethel get their own show? For 5 minutes, the House Un-American Activities Committee became the I Love Lucy fan club. Ball answered every question, gave behind-the-scenes stories, even demonstrated her famous Vita Mea Tava Gamen drunk routine. Congressman Jackson laughed so hard he knocked over his water glass. Matthews recorded it all. Her notes described, committee members gathered around witness, informal atmosphere, multiple requests for autographs. Witness obliged all requests. Agent Wheeler asked for signed photo for wife. Witness promised to send full cast photo to all committee members' families. Then came the moment that sealed Ball's victory. Congressman Doyle's secretary entered with a telegram. Western Union, priority delivery. From Philip Morris, Ball's sponsor. If committee harms Miss Ball, Philip Morris will reconsider all political donations. She sells more cigarettes than our advertisements. Touch her, and you touch our money. Similar telegrams arrived from General Foods, Procter & Gamble, and Ford Motors. Corporate America had spoken. Lucy was untouchable. She didn't just have fans. She had Fortune 500 protection. Ball left the building at 3:47 p.m. Outside, something impossible waited. Over 500 women stood in silent support, housewives who'd taken buses from Maryland and Virginia, who'd left dinner uncooked and children with neighbors. They'd been standing since morning, waiting. When Ball emerged, they didn't cheer. They didn't need to. Their presence said everything. America's mothers had her back. One woman handed Ball a sign. "Lucy taught me to laugh at my marriage instead of cry. We're not leaving without her." The FBI report noted, largest spontaneous gathering of civilians at congressional hearing to date. No organizers identified. Appeared to be genuine grassroots response. Subjects dispersed peacefully after Ball's departure. Number 9. The Monday that changed television forever. September 14th, 1953. 10 days after the hearing. The first I Love Lucy episode since Ball's testimony was about to air. CBS executives were terrified. Sponsors were nervous. Would America still watch? The episode, The Business Manager. Plot. Ricky hires a business manager to control Lucy's spending. She rebels by buying a freezer full of meat. Typical Lucy chaos. Nothing political, nothing controversial, just comedy. 9 p.m. Eastern. The show began, and something unprecedented happened. The ratings didn't just hold, they exploded. 51 million viewers, the highest rating in I Love Lucy history, higher than the birth episode, higher than any show had ever achieved. But the numbers only tell part of the story. What happened during commercials told the rest. Philip Morris reported record call-in orders. Viewers were buying products just to support Lucy. General Foods sold out of Jell-O in 12 states. Not because of the ads, because Lucy ate it in the episode. Western Union reported 50,000 telegrams sent to CBS that night, all with versions of the same message. "We stand with Lucy." The St. Louis Post-Dispatch described it. America voted with their TV dials. The verdict, not guilty of anything but making us laugh. But here's what made it legendary. At 9:23 p.m., during the second commercial break, something happened that had never happened before or since. CBS phone operators reported that callers weren't asking about the show. They were asking for Ball's home address. They wanted to send her letters of support. By midnight, the Desilu mailroom had received 8,000 special delivery letters. By week's end, 150,000. The post office had to assign 6 extra trucks just for Ball's fan mail, letters from mothers, fathers, teenagers, grandparents, all saying versions of the same thing. Thank you for standing up to them. One letter from an Iowa farm wife captured the mood. I've never written a fan letter, never thought I'd care about Hollywood. But when they came for you, they came for all of us. Every woman who's been told she's too loud, too ambitious, too much. You didn't just save your show. You saved our dreams. The sponsors took notice. Philip Morris tripled their advertising budget. General Foods signed a 5-year extension. Ford Motors, who hadn't even sponsored the show, bought in just to be associated with Ball. But the real victory came from an unexpected source. The next morning, President Eisenhower held a press conference. A reporter asked about the Ball hearing. The president's response made headlines. I understand Lucy got herself in a jam last week. Mamie and I watch every Monday. Glad it worked out. Now about those Soviet grain negotiations. The President of the United States had just admitted he watched Lucy and called her by her character's name. The war was over. Lucy won. Number 10. The tape CBS locked away for 34 years. December 15th, 1953, 3 months after the hearing. CBS filmed something that wouldn't air for decades. A 1-hour special. Just Lucille Ball sitting in a chair talking directly to camera. No script, no edits, no commercials. Just truth. CBS executives ordered it locked away. Too raw, too real, too dangerous. The tape sat in a vault until 1987, when Ball's death made suppression pointless. What she said in those 60 minutes explained everything. People ask if I was scared. Of course I was scared, but not of jail, not of losing money. I was scared of disappointing the women who watched me every week, who wrote to say I gave them permission to be silly, to be loud, to want more than kitchen duty and babies. She talked about her grandfather. the socialist who died thinking he'd change the world. He was wrong about politics, but right about people. He said the powerful always find ways to crush the powerless, unless the powerless refuse to be crushed. That hearing wasn't about communism. It was about control, and I refused to be controlled. The most revealing part came 40 minutes in. Ball directly addressed the committee. You know what you really investigated? A woman who divorced her first husband, who married a Cuban, who ran a business, who made decisions, who proved women could be mothers and moguls. That's what scared you. Not my grandfather's politics, my audacity to succeed. Then she said something that explained her entire strategy. I knew from Minute 1 they'd already decided my fate. The registration was real. The evidence was damning. By law, they had me, so I didn't fight the law. I fought for the jury. And my jury was 40 million Americans who laughed with me every Monday night. She revealed details never made public, like how Desi wanted her to flee to Cuba if things went bad, how their lawyers prepared for a Supreme Court battle, how CBS had replacement shows ready to air, how she'd already picked out which furniture to sell first when they seized her assets. But I knew something they didn't. You can't destroy someone who makes people happy, not in America, not when happiness is so hard to find. Every mother who laughed instead of cried while doing dishes was my defender. Every father who watched with his kids instead of going to the bar was my guardian. Every couple who remembered why they married was my army. The tape's most powerful moment came near the end. Ball looked directly at the camera. They said I was a communist because I signed a paper in 1936, but every week I proved I was the ultimate capitalist. I sold products. I employed hundreds. I made millions laugh and millions of dollars. I turned a marriage into an empire. If that's not American, nothing is. Her final words, to every woman watching someday, when men try to make you small, remember this. I walked into that room a suspected communist. I walked out America's sweetheart, not because I cried or apologized or begged, because I refused to be anyone but Lucy, and Lucy always wins in the end. The tape ended with Ball standing up, smoothing her dress, and walking off camera. You could hear her heels clicking on the studio floor, then silence. CBS executives watched it once, then locked it away. Too powerful, too dangerous, too true. When it finally aired in 1987, 2 days after Ball's death, it broke ratings records. 30 million Americans watched a 34-year-old tape of a woman talking to a camera. They watched because they remembered, because she taught them something television rarely teaches, that sometimes the best defense isn't denial or tears or rage. Sometimes it's just being so undeniably yourself that your enemies look foolish for trying to change you. The Desilu empire Ball built would go on to produce Star Trek, Mission Impossible, and dozens of other shows. She became the first woman to run a major television studio. She proved women could be executives, not just actors. She changed the industry's power structure forever, but she did something else that day in Washington, something harder to measure but impossible to ignore. She showed America that McCarthyism could be beaten, not with politics or protests or underground movements, but with laughter, with authenticity, with the simple act of being too beloved to destroy. 2 months after her hearing, Senator Joseph McCarthy himself tried to subpoena Ball for his committee. He wanted to retry the case, make an example, show that no one was untouchable. His staff researched for weeks, built new files, prepared fresh accusations. Then McCarthy made a mistake. He mentioned his plans to his wife. She had 3 words for him. Don't touch Lucy. McCarthy, the most feared man in American politics, dropped the case. Never mentioned Ball again. Even he knew better than to battle America's favorite redhead. When Ball died on April 26, 1989, President Bush ordered flags at half-staff. The official statement called her an American treasure who taught us to laugh, but Congressman Doyle, the man who'd overseen her hearing, had a different epitaph. In a private letter to her family, he wrote, "She was the bravest witness I ever saw. We thought we were judging her.